who's joining in from India and to the different time zones. Good morning, good afternoon. It's really nice to have everybody together here because this is a beautiful session which is curated by Ink Women and Herky. And it's a pleasure to have you with us today for an important and inspirational conversation called Impact at Scale: How Women Can Lead Change Through Network and Collaboration. And I have a beautiful Naina sitting here who will talk about it, of course, but just to give you a little background on what we are doing. So this session is a part of our landmark book project called Celebrating 49 Extraordinary Indian Women Who Lead with Courage, Purpose, and Brilliance. And why did we actually come to 49 is because women make 49.7% of the world's population. And this series is a powerful reminder that nearly half of humanity's voices must not only be heard but celebrated. We don't do it enough. And so we will do it with Naina today as well. And the theme of today's conversation speaks to something very fundamental. The big change doesn't happen alone, it happens through connection. And I want to introduce Naina, of course. Our guest, Naina Subberwal Batra, is the CEO of AVPN, Asia's largest network of social investors working to increase the flow of financial, human, and intellectual capital for impact. And we need it more and more in today's day and age. And since taking on this role, Naina, from 2013, you have nurtured AVPN's community, growing its membership base, and transforming it to a truly regional force for good. Under your leadership, AVPN has evolved from focusing solely on venture philanthropy to supporting the entire ecosystem of social investors, from Catholic philanthropists and impact investors to corporate CSR leaders. So it's really like my heartfelt, warm welcome to you today, Naina. And do you want to say something before I promptly jump into my first question?
No, very, very happy to be here, Archana, and thank you so much for inviting me and for having me as part of this journey. I think it's something that I really believe very strongly in, and yes, 49% of the world's population definitely needs a voice. It's kind of crazy, 55 years old, that we're still talking about our voice in the world and our voice in the workplace. So very, very excited to be here to share my journey in the workplace for now 30 years, but also, in the workplace as a woman, as a wife, as a mother. What does it really mean? So very, very happy to be here and to join you on this discussion.
So nice. And I think we will ask you on every part of the role that a woman plays, and so do you, so that there are so many other women who are sitting here get some of your perspectives and learnings along the way to say, how did it really go for you? So, but I'll start with, building networks and driving impact, because I think that is something that most women shy away from. When it comes to putting ourselves out there, when it comes to networking, it comes to like showcasing our own work, we still don't have it in us. We start of course, our imposter syndrome takes over. There is a lot of like, do I really deserve to be there? Do I really matter? Do you also, from when you started, did you face any of that yourself? Or if you didn't, then what really helped you during this phase of your life?
Wow, okay. Let's just get into it right away, Archana. That's yeah, no, it's very true. I think as women, we do go through this imposter syndrome, and I'm not anybody less than that. So I joined AVPN in 2013, and it sort of happened kind of by chance. I moved from India to Singapore because my husband's job moved him to Singapore. Before that, in Mumbai, I was working in a consulting firm, in a strategy consulting firm, and his job, it was an offer we couldn't say no to, and so we moved. And I got headhunted to run this organization, and I didn't know anything about what a network was. I didn't know anything about venture philanthropy. Didn't even know what venture philanthropy was, to be honest. And I'd never worked in Asia Pacific, and I was actually quite shocked when I got the role.
Wow.
And I sort of said to myself, okay, I'll do this for 2 years and I'll figure it out, and then I'll move into a real job. And when I joined, AVPN was 4 people, and
Okay.
we were a very small organization. And today, our turnover at that point was 700,000. Today, it's over over $30 million. And we are now more than 125 people in 16 countries.
Wow.
And for the longest time, Archana, when people would say, look at this amazing organization you have built, I would say, oh, we're just starting. This is something, oh, we have a long way to go. That's very kind of you to say. I changed that narrative only a year ago. When people tell me what an amazing organization, look at what you've built, I'm like, yeah, thank you very much. It's been a lot of work and it's been a great journey, but I'm extremely proud of what we've built. And I think that's itself for me has been a step forward, because I think we are so nervous or so shy of
Yeah.
accepting praise and of taking credit where credit is due, that even me as a CEO and a CEO of a very, very successful nonprofit that I have built with my team for a very long time, and my team also consists of 70% women. It's been so hard to claim, the praise that we have rightfully earned. So I think the imposter syndrome is very, very true, and we are always like, oh my god, I can do this better, I should have done this better, I didn't do enough, or oh, there's something more I could have done, which is,
Mm.
I feel, unfortunately very characteristically female. And it's got to do with, maybe how we are conditioned when we are growing up. Maybe it's to do in school. Maybe it's, and it's something we see in our households as well. And we see it in our parents. We see it if it's a guy who does really well, it's like, wow, you're amazing. You're this, you know, tiger, and you've done this amazing job. And if it's a woman, we're like, oh God, she's really
Oh,
bossy. Or, oh, she's like, she really tries
aggressive.
to take all this credit without it being something that is equally well earned and equally well deserved. So I think it's a journey, but I think we have to start out by by really kind of getting out of our comfort zone and out of our skin to actually claim credit when we genuinely have earned that credit. So I think for me also, it's come hard fought, but it's something that I'm learning to do.
So cool. But I want to ask you, you said you started to do only since last year. What really shifted for you? What really,
You
like,
know,
you were doing the same kind of work, right? And of course, putting
I
in.
was doing the same kind of work. We were growing, almost doubling in size year on year. And, you know, I think part of it is just growing up and looking around and seeing that there's still very few of us. There are
Yeah.
still very few of us women that are out there, and there are very few women that I found I could reach out to
Mm.
and actually say, hey, you're my mentor, let's do this together.
Yeah.
And and I have a 26-year-old daughter, and I was like, she thinks I'm her role model, and I need to model the behavior that I want to see outside. I need to be able to do that.
So
And
nice.
personally also, um, I went on, if there are women over the age of 50, you'll realize what I'm saying. I went through this whole menopause journey, and I went through everything: the hot flashes, the sheer rage, the the sort of looking back and the putting on weight, and then I lost a lot of weight. It was a lot of hard work to do that. And then everyone be like, oh my God, you're looking fabulous. And my first thing was like, yeah, yeah, it's not that. And then I was like, listen, it's taken so much effort, it's
I
taken
know.
so much pain, I need to own that as well. So I started owning that. And then, it was like, yeah, this organization is phenomenal. It's driving social impact at scale. It's a neutral organization. It's different. Nobody has, we've had no godfathers. We've had no one person to fund us, and yet we've survived. We've not only survived, we've thrived, and we've made a difference, and we've made a change. And yes, we're really proud of it, and we need to own it. And I just started saying, yeah, if I model that, and not only do I model it, if I speak about it openly enough, more and more women will stand up and say, hey, I believe in myself, I believe in the work that I do, I own the work that I do.
I think I agree with you on the transition bit at a certain age. And I actually founded the company called Second Act and then partnered with Inc. Second Act, as the name itself, is literally designing the life that you truly deserve. And I think it comes at a point in life. It's not that you
Yes.
start very early. Like you said, even speaking up and like showing up itself, this realization is so strong at a certain time. And then the whole thing about being a role model to the next generation and our own daughters, I think that is something that really is coming up more and more. And thank you for like, already showing up and speaking about it. And it's so important. And like you said, we are very few of us who are doing this right now. And I think a lot of women who have joined would kind of take some reflection back and say, okay, what they need to do to build their own personal branding. So tell me a little bit about the journey of creating a personal branding. What is a message that you would like to give the women leaders of today who want to probably expand their influence by either building networks or, they want to do something which is showcasing their work, but don't know where to begin? What would you like to tell them?
So I think, part of it is putting yourself out there. And I
Mm,
think that's the first step if you want to build your own brand, your brand as a leader, your brand for your company, your brand for what you stand for. And that takes courage. It takes
mm,
courage to put yourself out there because when you put yourself out there, you also put yourself up for comment, for somebody to have something to say about you. And that something to say about you may not be nice. You need to develop a thick skin, but you
yeah,
have to start by putting yourself out there. You need
yeah,
to make, you need to befriend social media. You need to write posts regularly. You need to show up. You need to speak, and you need to make your voice heard. Now, it doesn't mean that, you talk about something that you don't believe in. I also very strongly believe that, if you have conviction, you appear real. So you need to have conviction. You need to believe what it is that you are saying and what it is that you are selling. Whether it is your own personal brand, whether it is a company that you have built up, you need to have all of that. Um, in terms of networks, networks also require you going out there. Most of us, don't like having to go into a room full of strange people. I don't, but I do it
especially
all the time. Yeah,
men.
especially in a room where there are few women, you are not sure what people are making of you. What is someone saying? What if no one talks to you? Oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to be standing alone in a corner? We find it very hard to go in and break into a circle. But you
Yes.
have to do that. And part of it is, sort of like taking that plunge. It seems more scary than it actually is. And doing that. The
Mm,
third thing I would say is find good friends who can be mentors, with whom you genuinely build a relationship. You don't need too many.
mm,
5 or 6 are good enough. But have honest relationships with them where, it's not transactional. You're actually using them, they're using you, you're asking for guidance, but you're also offering advice. It's a quid pro quo relationship, but
yes.
it's the real relationship that you can go to, get some help. A lot of times people don't ask for mentors, and that's why they don't get. They wait to see if somebody will actually open the door. And a lot of times, most of us are busy, so we forget to hold the door open for someone else to come in. So don't feel embarrassed that you should knock. Knock and
Yeah.
say, hey, you're
I
a
need
leader. I really like it. I admire what you do. I want to learn from you. And how
yeah.
do I do that? And most people are A, very flattered by that, and B, oftentimes they will make the time and they will be there to mentor you, to guide you. But find someone that you resonate with, find somebody that you actually feel there is a little bit of a connection, because then that mentorship is also more real and it's more genuine, rather than you're just reaching out to someone because they have stature.
Hmm. So it's so interesting that, when we talk about, of course, the women at a certain point in their life and they've reached a leadership position, and that's the time that they actually also start figuring out what's my real purpose. And that's when, you shift your focus to also doing something for the social sector. You being in the thick of the social sector, really doing things to uplift, right from the bottom of it. Have you also felt a bit like, okay, what's my next step now? Or do you already start feeling fulfilled because with the kind of work that you have done already had so much impact?
So I think, being fulfilled is different things for different people, yeah.
Right.
So I think working in the social sector, yes, it's good, but it's hard work like any other job.
Yes.
I don't think, you know, when I first came to work for AVPN, the impact was something that I was interested in, but it's a network, so it's really one step removed from the impact. It's not really working for a nonprofit where you're actually going out and doing work on the ground. But it is impactful because you're working and trying to get other people to either give more money or give more time or share their skills. So you are creating that impact. I
Right.
think in terms of, you know, for all of us, yeah. I think what is harder and what is more difficult is really kind of making some choices that actually are impactful for us in our own journey. And I think that's where we sometimes shy away from, Archana. So, it's to me, and I've like I said, when my kids were younger, and if there are women with kids on the call, you'll feel that, a lot of my time when I was growing the company was spent racked with guilt that I wasn't spending enough time at home, and I wasn't there when my kids came home from school, and I wasn't there when they had to make important decisions, and I was traveling, and I was someone letting my kids, my husband, my dog down, all of them at the same time, my parents. I wasn't being able to do everything at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm like, okay, I'm an empty nester. My kids are gone. My husband's in his job. I'm in mine. But I feel like the next step is really kind of being clear. That, what is the path for me? And not being sort of hesitant to claim that, whatever that path is, whether that path is, going out and writing a book, whether that path is doing something else, whether that path is continuing to grow AVPN, because I feel like there's a lot more impact to still be done. It is kind of owning that journey and really sort of feeling comfortable and confident in that journey. And one of the reasons I was very excited to be part of this project is, I think for me this journey is much more about really kind of creating more pathways for women and making sure that we have more women in leadership positions, and we have more women. It's interesting, there are a lot of women in the social sector, far more women that work in the social sector than men do, but in leadership positions there are far less women than there are men, even in the social sector. And that is crazy. That is just insane.
Actually, my next question was that itself, that is this a natural instinct for women to be, aligned to something like a social cause because of our more empathetic, more, giving nature and, feeling the pulse of, our different stakeholders, right from, the grassroots levels. Do you think that's where women get more inclined to this? And like you said, why do we then not reach, the top?
So I think women are definitely more empathetic. It's something that's genetic. It's something that we're born with. Which is why we're mothers, and which is why we're, natural caregivers. But it's kind of interesting, right? So, you'll find more women who are social workers, more women who are working as Anganwadi workers, more women who are teachers. But
Yes.
when you talk about principals, when you talk about managers, when you talk about foundation heads, they tend to be men. And that is where it's interesting. So my counterpoint to that is the fact that I think women multitask really, really well. We are born multitask.
Yeah.
We can do so many things at the same time. Sometimes, I mean, I like look at this and say, really, like, how do we really do that? And to be a successful manager or a CEO, as you know, is you need to be able to multitask. I just think we are hesitant to put our hand up. We don't put our hand up when that promotion comes up. We don't put our hand up and ask, why not me? And that's why there are much fewer women that are there in the leadership positions than
Right.
there are, you know, at the bottom. They kind
Right.
of just, it's sort of like this inverted pyramid. In the beginning, there are a lot of women, and then they just kind of fall out. And as we go higher up, there are just fewer and fewer.
So, but how do you think things can change?
I think things can change if it's up to each one of us to kind of drive that change. So I think, so I as a CEO have three deputies, two of whom are women. And I was very conscious about that. So I
Great.
think we need to be, as the women who are there, sometimes we have this thing that, it was really hard for me to get there, so that's how it is. It doesn't have to be really hard for the next person to get there. And it's in some ways we have to make that path easier. We need to make sure that, women are mentored, women are, given that feeling that they can do more than one thing. I mean, I have a number of women that work in AVPN that are new mothers, and they're very clear. They come back to work, they go back, but between, let's say, 5 and 8, they don't take calls. They don't go back. They don't check their email. But they're so incredibly productive because they go back to work at 8 or 9 when their kid has gone down to sleep. And, 9 to 12, I'm still getting emails and they're, on their jobs and they're working. And I think this is the stuff that we have to recognize, we have to call out, and we have to celebrate and say that, this is amazing that you can do this, and not say, oh yeah, you have to do this. And it's sort of taken for granted. I also tell my younger colleagues that when they do have children, that, it's not just your child. I mean, besides breastfeeding, your husband or partner can do everything, same thing, everything. Don't doesn't have to be just you. But I
It's also,
think I think we have to do that's also a mind change. I mean,
yes.
it's really interesting how many women who work go to PTAs, go to the dentist, go to the doctor, do all the other errands, but they're also working full time. So it's really interesting.
I still remember, when my kids were small, my husband would always say, oh, for their vaccination, no, no, I can't see them getting pricked, so you only manage it. So,
Yeah.
like, hardly any woman will say, oh, sorry, but I can't see my child getting pricked. They will take the child, because it's vaccination time. So, I think men have their own way of like getting out of things
Yeah,
to
but
say,
if you accept that, then it
yeah, that's
becomes then it becomes normative behavior, right? If
so true.
suddenly, like your husband says, my husband is, has a vasovagal condition, he faints at the sight of blood. So that
Same.
meant he got a free pass. No, why? You can
Yeah,
get over it, sit on a chair, take a chocolate with you. Why? Because the moment we say it's okay, then it's
yeah,
okay, na? Then it's normative behavior. Then you've said it's all right. And
yeah.
and please don't get me wrong. I've said it's all right too many times. And which is why now I feel like it's not all right. And
Yeah,
you get to a certain point where you get very angry and you say, like, why? And
yeah.
and it's really interesting, even in the workplace, I have young guys and young women. The guys
Hmm.
will always be the ones that ask for a raise. The guys will always be the one to say, why didn't I get the promotion? and
Hmm.
and the women are always like, oh, thank you, oh, that's so great that you saw my work. And okay, I understand I'm not getting promoted. The guys never understands. He always come and fight and say, oh, but I deserved this.
Yeah, so
Very few women will come in and fight and say they deserved it.
yeah, so
Even
true.
now, even now.
Yeah. So I'm very glad that Evangeline has asked the question saying that sometimes women hesitate to ask for help or to lean on their networks. How can we overcome that mindset and learn to collaborate more confidently or ask, like you said, just ask. It's
So I
it's
think it has to be a learned behavior because it's not something that comes instinctively to us. I
yeah,
think we have to. So you kind of need to write it in a piece of paper and put it in front of your desk or stick it onto your computer screen or somewhere where you see it, where you have to tell yourself that I need to do this. If
right.
I don't agree with something, I am going to say something. I am
Yeah,
actually going to speak up. And,
right.
like I said, sometimes the consequences are not so bad. You worry more about it, you have more fear when you don't need to fear as much.
Hmm. One thing that I want to ask from my personal life as well, because there are not many questions coming, so maybe this is a great platform that I can learn something from it as well. That when I started my own entrepreneurship journey, I also thought that real impact is when you make a difference at the underprivileged level. And that helped me to start an NGO called Pedalon. And when I opened it, of course, I had no idea how to operate, or what to do. And whenever I thought, and I belong to a very hardcore corporate world, so I thought it's easy, go to a corporate, explain, your, what's in your mind, what you want to do, the impact you want to bring, and then somebody will comply to it. And believe you me, it's like still I'm learning along the curve that it's a very difficult place to be. Even if your intention is right. If you go to a big corporate, they say, okay, what is the big work that you've done? But I haven't done anything, but I have an intention. I have a small NGO bootstrapped, I have a few women I want to really support in their well-being journey. So either you need to prove your work and showcase a lot that you've already got, and then there is a big funding for it. Or the other thing is that, there are so many compliances when you want to actually get to it that something will really like make you give up in the middle. I haven't given up. I'm just still bootstrapping it in my own way. But you want to do good work, but you don't know how to really get the right kind of people who can collaborate and bring it. So what do you have to say to women who really want to probably do something like me?
So I think any startup, whether you're starting an NGO or you're starting a commercial startup, any startup is hard because you need to have a proof of concept. It needs to work before people support it or invest in it, or you even get a bank loan. So I think uh, being an entrepreneur, as you know yourself, is probably the hardest job in the world
Yeah.
because it's your idea, you're passionate about it, but you haven't been able to sell it to the larger world. The thing
Mm.
is, it's really kind of baby steps, and I think having small milestones that you actually celebrate, because otherwise the journey is really difficult and you tend to give up. So you need to look at small things as successes because those will keep you going. And all of a sudden, before you, and this is exactly what happened with AVPN. We just kept going. And it was at times we would be like, oh my God, are we going to make next month's payroll? What is it that's going to happen? Are we going to be able to survive? And
God.
it's really one step by one step that you actually build it.
Mm.
Understanding finances, in my mind, is supremely important, irrespective of impact, irrespective of what you're trying to build, because unless you're financially sustainable, there is no impact because the NGO will close down, you will not be able to do anything. So you
Yeah.
need to be very clear, what is my financial model? What is my business model? How am I going to work at this? And that is, I think, extremely important because especially when we get into the impact sector, we kind of focus so much on the impact, we don't think enough about the finances. And I think it's very, very important that we do.
So another question that comes up, that there is also a very big myth, maybe, or is it a reality, that there is no money in the social sector? Even people who are leading on the top, being a CEO of a social sector versus a CEO of like a profit making organization, there is a big disparity. Does it exist? And if they do, why do you think so? Because this is also like, an organization which is making things possible. So what is your learning around the curve?
You're 100% right. It absolutely exists and it has to change. And part of it is, what you said before. I've reached a certain stage in my life, I want to give back. So that's why I'll move to the social sector. Why?
Yeah.
Lots of people start their career in the social sector. They also have school fees to give. They also want to buy a house. They also want, if you think about it, organizations in the social sector are solving the most difficult or wicked problems in the world. So you
Mm.
want to attract the best possible talent that you
Yeah.
can to the social sector because these are the most difficult problems, right? At the end of the day, do you really care how many bars of soap Unilever has been able to sell? Or are you really worried about a cure for, poverty or something that actually keeps more women in the workforce? What is more important? So
Yeah.
you want to attract the best in class, and that will only happen if we can pay competitively. And that's been one of the things that we have tried to do, or I have tried to do at ABPN, is really look at increasing salaries year on year so that we can keep the best, attract the best, and actually make sure that there is a career path for somebody who's working in the social sector. And it's not seen that, oh, you're getting karmic credits because, you're doing good. And you know how we say that, "Are bhala karo," and you'll get, very good. That's why you're in the social sector. And that needs to change. That is not something that is, tenable. That doesn't bring good people into the social sector. That doesn't help us solve problems. And the rest of us who are working in the social sector have the same basic economic needs that everybody else does. So we also need to pay for those needs, and therefore you need to pay well. This has been something that has changed, at least in the West. It has not changed in our part of the world. And it's something that we really need to recognize and make sure that we change.
So, Naina, all the best to you for doing that and being the spokesperson for many who are probably still struggling with it. I'll take one or two questions from the audience. Parul is asking that I'm an HR leader in the social impact space. Gender inclusivity is sold, fundraising via impact stories in the field, and spoken about but not practiced, often leading to exits, especially for female leaders championing gender inclusivity. What advice would you share with female leaders trying to practice what is being preached but facing the music by doing so?
I agree. And especially, in today's times, it's become very difficult to talk about gender inclusivity. The thing is that we have to continue. It's not, and as women, we are the ones that need to lead this this discussion, as difficult as it is. Um, there have been a lot of conversations around gender and what gender really means. And, yes, you can talk about gender in its full inclusive sense, where you're talking about LGBTQ, we're talking about including, all sorts of people around what is a truly inclusive organization. But what often happens then is that women get dropped. Women are still the minority. Women are still in a place where they do need support. And it's
Mm.
becoming more and more politically incorrect for us to talk about women and gender in the same sentence. And I will just put myself out there and say that, yes, I believe in gender equality and I believe in women's equality, and I am talking about it. And that's what we have to do. We have to go out and say, I mean, women need to be in the workplace. I mean, we need to have policies that will bring women into the workplace, and there is no going back. We just need to keep doing it till we pass through these difficult norms and this difficult period in time where for some reason gender equality doesn't seem to include women.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think bang on that point. I think we have to change the definition only, like, the focus of like, picking on one gender to say, okay, now this is what equality means. I think this is all such a hopnosh.
Yeah.
So, so I want to take the next question. Of course, it comes from wanting to open an NGO. So somebody is asking that she has a dream to open an NGO by giving some sort of activity for differently able children or young adults, but she doesn't know how to go about it. What are your some learnings for somebody who wants to do something in this space? How do they really kickstart it?
So I would actually say do some research into nonprofits that are already working with people with disabilities and see what it is that you like about them. My suggestion would be to go and visit them. If there's some that are close to where you live, go and see them, talk to the leaders who run them, and you'll be able to understand what it is what are the kind of challenges and what are the sort of issues that you need to be able to address and that you should be looking at. What you could also do is see, is there a way that you can support an existing nonprofit instead of starting your own right away, and learning a little bit from that before you go and take the plunge and say, okay, I'm going to start my own nonprofit. Because sometimes working with one that already is working in the field that you are interested in will give you some necessary skills and will give you a better understanding of the problem that you're trying to solve, so that you can come up with a plan of how you're going to solve for that problem.
And I think sometimes, don't you think, Nana, collaboration works? This is what I have learned in
Yeah.
my, 4 years of running an NGO, that I started as a well-being center for women, in which all the five aspects of well-being, emotional, psychological, physical, spiritual, and financial were being like kind of met. And then we saw that, the financial bit came from, if we could pick on orders from some other organization which was already, successful in taking from, handmade work or something from rags, that we were making like sustainable products. So I thought that that really helped us in the long run of like collaborating with such organizations which were buying in products from, some
Hmm.
smaller organizations like us. So I think that is something that helped. So collaboration is a good space. The need gap of one organization to the other, if they can fulfill,
Absolutely.
that worked for me. Yeah. Okay, so Lavanya is asking, what skills are required to join impact investment or social impact sector for someone who has no prior experience in this field?
So I think you have to go in with a mindset that you're going to learn. So, a lot of times people come from the corporate sector or from other sectors to the not-for-profit sector and feel that, I already know everything. So I'm going to be coming in and teaching you how to run your nonprofit and also how to do the work that you're doing. I think that's the problem. And, it's yes, you have certain skills which you can bring to the table, which the nonprofit can definitely benefit from. But it's important to have an open mind that there are certain skills you need to learn to be able to also be effective in the not-for-profit sector. The first is really understanding what are the problems on the ground that people are trying to solve. Why haven't they been solved? Why has it taken so much time? There are obviously issues that exist, whether it's the fact that there's a scarcity, whether it's a fact that there's a government problem, whether it's a fact that there is a community issue. There are issues that have to be addressed in a respectful, in a collaborative, and in a mindful manner, which takes training, which takes some amount of empathy, which takes some amount of experience. So when you want to make a switch to the sector, go with the required amount of humility that I am also here to learn. I do believe I have things I want to give back, but I am also here to learn.
So cool. So I'll ask you a question on AVPN. And I know that the networks like AVPN and the broader ecosystem who reimagine the future of giving, how do you think things are looking ahead for organizations such as this and the impact that you're bringing to Asia?
So I think, it's interesting. Why I think we are a unique network and why I think, philanthropy in Asia is unique as compared to the West. What happens in the West a lot of the times is that people give money, A, because they get a tax break, and B, when they have amassed huge amounts of wealth. What happens in Asia is that a lot of the times our giving is very values aligned. We give because we've grown up in a culture where, you're looking after your community, whether it is, the person who works in your house who asks you for a loan, whether it's giving money in a temple, whether it's actually giving something to somebody you see on the road. It's something you've grown up with, right? It's not something that you do because I have so much money and I'm a multi-billionaire or a trillionaire. Doesn't matter.
That's a great
Everybody can
insight.
be a philanthropist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't count that and we don't think of that as philanthropy. You think about it tomorrow, somebody, the person who comes to wash dishes in your house has a catastrophe at home. Who are they going to ask for help? They ask you for help. Who do you give it? You don't think about it. Somebody's getting married, they don't have enough money, you give it.
Yeah.
Somebody's child needs to go to school, aaj school ke fees ke paise nahi hai, you give it. So that
Yeah.
is also philanthropy. And that is why I think AVPN has grown so much because we leverage philanthropy and giving in societies where it is something that comes from inside yourself. It is not something that you're doing because you're getting a tax break.
So
What
true.
the only difference what we do in our network like ours is we try to make it more strategic. We try to say, okay, today don't support education, and then tomorrow you're supporting, you know, women's health, and day after tomorrow you've decided I'm going to support climate change. Try and support the same NGO if that's what you want to do for 3 years at least, so that that NGO feels that every year I'm not going out trying to figure out where my funding is going to come from. I can at least count on that. If there is some amount of structure in your giving that you can put in, we can help you do that. So that is what AVPN as a network does. It brings different organizations, different kinds of givers together, including those who can give large sums of money as investment capital, so that
Mhm.
we can form this continuum where you can really scale that impact. And that's why I believe AVPN has really seen the kind of growth and the acceptance that we have seen.
Great. That was such a good insight. Never thought about it. But you were so bang on and like saying that we have grown up like that. Yeah, so true. All right. So tell me a little bit about what AVPN is actually now focusing on. I know that, right from education to livelihood to crime, climate to inclusion, you have it all. But where is the main focus in the next few years?
So our main focus is two things. One is to really kind of increase the amount of capital that flows towards impact in Asia. And the second is to try and see how we can direct that to Asian organizations. A lot of times what happens is that large grants, especially those coming internationally, go to large international nonprofits, whereas those that are community-based, smaller nonprofits don't often get overlooked. So we have created a platform with support from the government of Singapore called Impact Collab, which we are working with some large organizations in India as well to help us source nonprofits that we can do due diligence, we can do the vetting, and we can actually match make them with individuals who are looking to give. What is the biggest sort of hurdle in giving? Archana, the biggest hurdle in giving is lack of transparency and lack of trust. So what we are trying to do is create a framework where there is due diligence, trusted, verified organizations that otherwise you would not be able to find, that we can find through our network, through our more than 750 organizations that are our members, who
Wow.
themselves support thousands and thousands. So, more than 400,000 nonprofits. Can we actually get them onto this platform and therefore get them to have access to new funders, new philanthropists who are also looking to give their money?
Very well done, and very happy to know this. To be honest, I have a quick fireside round for you, and I will ask
Sure.
you quick questions so that I can test if you are watching the Karan Johar show or not many times. So, okay, so one word that defines your leadership style.
Bold.
Oh, nice. Very good to know. A woman leader you deeply admire.
Uh, Leena Nair.
Great. A cause you think deserves more attention.
Women's economic empowerment.
Great. One skill every future change maker should cultivate.
Self-confidence.
Great. Great. Your personal mantra for impact.
Every one of us can make a difference.
So beautiful. And you're so hands-on with, exactly, I think, it's having such a focused approach to even response is so great. Normally we don't have the right words, and I see that you really had the right words because I think you're so living it every day. So it's such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to have you, Anena, really. And
Thanks,
it's
Archana.
my very personal growth today to learn from you. And I hope the audiences also learn something. We will be very privileged to have you as one of our chapters in the 49 Incredible Women in India.
Thank you so much, Archana. Thanks a lot. Really, really glad to be here.
Thank
Lovely to meet you. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. All right. So thank you everybody for joining in. I'm sorry that we couldn't take all the questions, but I do hope that you took in a lot. So until the next time we have somebody, here again, take care and bye bye.